So I've seen it on social media over the last couple of weeks, I guess. Would you rather be a backup quarterback in a Power 4 school, like an SEC school, and make 500K in NIL? Or would you rather be a starter in a kind of middle of the road G6 program, but make 50K in NIL money?
I'd rather make 50K because I'd rather play.
If I had the capability and the talent to play, then yeah, you'd want to be playing because, as we've talked about for numerous occasions, your playing career in the NFL, NCAA, American football as a whole, as a non-professional, is pretty short. So I don't want to say waste it by sitting on the bench when you could, you got the rest of your life to go out and earn money. And yes, maybe you might not earn that much, but for those 3, 4 years, you play in a game you love and getting paid for it. But
Yeah,
to be honest, we'd all rather be an assistant coach at an NCAA team because we'll just bounce around and getting paid millions to just be not coaching for years on end.
yeah. The period is short, but I think playing the game, at least having
Rush.
those memories and being able to
Thank
say,
you.
I played, I started, is probably more valuable than just watching someone else do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of take the idea of go be a starter at a G6 program, ball out, and then earn yourself in maybe your junior year. Maybe you have to wait till your senior, but go ball out. Go be a 1 year starter at the end of your collegiate career
Florida,
a
Miami. I
yeah,
mean, there's
somewhere like
there's
that.
history, isn't there? Yeah.
Go make you can go then make a couple of mil, double the value, triple the value of what you probably would have got the first time round. But then have 3, 4 years worth of tape plus, which would then include a year of tape at a much higher level program.
Hmm.
Um, it's interesting because obviously with the draft that's just obviously we've just passed the draft now and seeing the way that I guess that the way the college world is now has affected the way the draft's gone and how players are now asking themselves those kind of questions. Um, and I guess maybe some of the reason that I say that I would change is because at the end of the day the transfer portal exists as well. So
Yeah.
and I
Yeah.
can just do that if I wanted to. Um,
Yeah.
but
And
Although if
maybe
the
it'd be more
president has
expected.
anything, if the president has anything to go by and gets his way, won't the transfer portal and everything? Anyway, moving on, getting political.
Yeah.
for
But I think the transfer portal will be a more legitimate part of the process going forward. It's not a weird thing that some people do. It'll be maybe something a lot of people do. It'll be
yeah.
more of a part of the college experience than it hasn't been before. I think some of the NFL coaches were a bit worried about that in the draft, weren't they? Looking at the O
Mm,
lines and the D lines and thinking maybe that's already impacting it. The
yeah.
time will tell.
But with that in mind, I think we should just get kicking with this podcast. So welcome back. If you are brand new to the College Football UK podcast, I am your host Fletch, and I am joined this week by three of my four wonderful co-hosts. I've got Adam, I've got Nick, and I've got Gary. How are we this week?
Good.
Very good, thank you.
Hired this week. I don't know. It just feels like this week's dragging, and it feels like it's only Wednesday already. I don't know if that's because of last week's
I wonder if you had
hype
any
and
late
extension.
nights.
Yeah, I think I might have had a few late nights at the end of last week that's kind of tailed over and a little bit of a hangover into this week, I think.
You lot and your aging selves who can't keep up
Wait, watch it.
with
Watch
the
it. Can't do these
with the
late nights anymore.
lifestyle that the likes of I can live still.
Yeah, 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 yeah. This is where Nick and I pull out the Murtaugh line. And if you don't understand the reference, then you're too young.
Having said that, like I was at the barber's today and we were chatting away, as you do when they're cutting your hair, and both of us,
What's hair?
he's only in his mid-30s, and we were just in fair play.
You're really catching some strays here, Nick.
No, I, you know, just asking a question. Why would you need to go to a barber's? You know,
Um, some of us are not blessed with being like you, where you don't need to spend money. Um, to look good, you just look good anyway. I have to spend money
Oh,
to try
good
and look good.
save. Good
it's a
save.
curse.
Nice
It's a
Good
recovery.
curse. You know,
save.
it is a curse.
Thank you. I felt prime Joe Hart then at that moment in time. I really did. But no,
John
I mean,
Stone's clearing off the line with a millimeter to
Oh,
spare.
no,
yeah,
John Stones. Oh, bye bye, Johnny.
yeah. Don't say that name this week. I'm not okay. I'm not feeling all right at this moment in
No,
time.
it's hard. It's so hard. Uh,
Um. Anyway, right. So what we're gonna do today, we're gonna start breaking down. Well, what this is it. This is the last mentions of certain players that we will make. The last episode where we talk about the 2026 NFL draft, because as of soon as we click stop recording on this episode, well, we'll let Nick tell you that later on how we feel about these players now. Excuse me. But there are some things I think around the draft that we need to talk about, and there are some ways that it does impact and show the weight of where college football is going and how college football is in this day and age. Before we do, please come and follow us on social media, AAW_CFB, join our free to join Discord server, and all the relevant links and information are in the description of the episode. First up, we will head to Nick's news, though.
Okie dokie. I was waiting for Gary's sound effect then, and it didn't come. I was shocked. You're
Sorry, mate. I was
slacking
miles
off
away.
now.
I was miles
Yeah.
away. I was miles
Oh,
away. I was expecting.
right.
I forgot that we had to cut out the official, um, professional sounding one from earlier because of the copyright issues that we may or may not
Um,
faced.
right. Okay. Nebraska University have approved a $600 million overhaul of Memorial Stadium. It will make the 103-year-old venue more fan-friendly and, more importantly, will increase revenue for the university. So I guess, how long it takes them to make that 600 million back. They reckon they'll probably make around 90 to $100 million a year extra
Mm.
on top of what they make anyway. So it should only take 6 years or so to get that money back. Louisville head coach Jeff Brome has agreed on a new 8-year, $64.8 million extension through 2033. If he's fired without cause before December the 31st, 27, he's entitled to 90% of his salary. If he,
Reiterating my answer to the question just gone quite clearly. Wow.
as if he's fired, if he's fired after that, then obviously he will get less. But that's not a bad bit of money to make. Louisiana Tech and Conference USA have come to an agreement and a settlement which allows the Bulldogs to leave the conference this summer and represent the Sun Belt as of August. Now, earlier last month, both Conference USA and the Sun Belt released their schedules, both with Louisiana Tech on it. So obviously the Sun Belt get Louisiana Tech, Conference USA get some money. That's how I read it. And then I've just got a whole host of commitments here. Number one QB Elijah Haven is committed to Alabama.
Not a surprise.
Auburn have landed a running back Johnson Cook. What else have we got?
Texas A&M
Florida have got a commitment from
center.
center Peyton Miller, 4-star recruit, and Texas A&M have received a commitment from offensive tackle Kennedy Brown, who's a five-star recruit. The only other news it requires a lot more talk because
Yeah.
that is the news that broke this week regarding Brendan Sorsby. So I
Right.
don't know whether you want to hold off and
So
move that to its own section.
I tell you what, let's go round to Adam's addendum and Gary's Gazette and Fletcher's forum, and then once we're done there in those three locations, we'll come back to that specific piece of news and we can give it the time it needs.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Gary's Gazette. Anything at Gary's Gazette this week?
Just kind of tallying on the NCAA have said that the eligibility rules that they're working through about how long you can play for, etc., will not fit retrospectively. So you won't be able to go back and say, "Oh, look, I did that, and you missed me. I can come back and play for a year." It's done and dusted. Once you're done, you're out. That's all I've got.
No
Yeah, I
worries.
was going to mention that. I mean, there was one, the NCAA are getting sued, but I don't know, Fletch, if you wanted to mention that.
Aren't they
No,
always?
no, it's fine. That wasn't really in my thing. So you crack on with that one, my
Okay.
friend.
Well, so the NCAA are getting sued alongside the Big Ten and the SEC over misuse of NIL, misuse of imagery by Jameson Williams, who joined, was it the Lions in 2022, 12th pick in the draft, I think.
Mhm.
Correct.
Correct.
Um,
And then promptly got himself suspended. But moving
Yeah, mate,
swiftly
yeah.
on.
But he's arguing, so his case is arguing that, well, hang on, I should have been entitled to what the new rules say and what the other players are going to get out of NIL. So I would like a check, please. Which can see
Which
his
is
point.
fair.
I mean,
Yeah,
that
but
was
it's setting a precedent. Though, if he comes in and says, "I want some money,"
they're all
then
piling.
how many else are going to come back?
And this
Yep.
was also what the 2 billion financial compensation plan
Well,
was due to be for. Obviously, there's issues with that. That's not been paid out yet. They're still figuring that out in court. But yeah, interesting development. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, and I think it's important. Most people will remember him if you are into the NFL, not as into college football. So, you know, this kind of thing, I guess, from players a couple of years ago may not be on your radar as much. He did start at Ohio State for 2 years and then went to Alabama for his final year of college and then went to the NFL. Hence why the Big Ten. And just wait, just again, some people might know him as the guy who came out of Alabama, but he was at Ohio State for 2 years before that. So, in Fletcher's
can we just take
forum,
a
the only
second? Can we just take a second and notice that he said Ohio State 3 times in that
yeah,
sentence?
um, fair enough. So the only piece of news in Fletcher's forum is because Fletcher's forum is open to a variety of different things. Someone has brought forward some, I guess, basketball news, in that the NCAA are expanding the March Madness tournament to 76 teams from the 68 that it currently is, obviously with the first round playing, and then it goes to 64 from the first proper round.
Right. So it's a prelim round or a pre-round one elimination round, and then getting into a proper. Because I was trying to do the math there. It was
Yeah,
like,
there's a play-in. It's a
76,
play-in.
38, 19. Oh, wait. Yeah.
So yeah, no, so 68 is the current format with four playing games that go on first before the start of the tournament officially. And then once those four playing games are done, they're all seeded into their appropriate brackets, and then you move forward to with the actual full tournament. But I think this is more one of those things where yes, it's college basketball, but it's met by similar people, but sorry, met similarly to mentions of the college football playoff expansion. Most people don't like it, right? Don't touch it, don't play with it, stop expanding it, don't make it bigger. Most coaches, I think the vast majority, because again, obviously you can't split basketball into FBS and FCS because there are no bowl games in basketball, so it is just Division One. But most coaches who were asked about it are very, very pro expanding it and making it slightly bigger. So it'd be interesting to see how they use, I guess, some of the expansion of the NCAA March Madness tournament and see if that ends up affecting if they expand on the college football playoffs, especially as they watch. Just from my perspective, it's well, how do they handle the PR around it? How do they handle going about it? How do they limit do the damage limitation on people getting angry that it's being expanded and all that sort
Mm.
of stuff. I find that really interesting. I think the fallout out of that's going to be really interesting. So that'll be from 2027, which does mean that in other news, totally unrelated, Michigan are the only final real winners of the March Madness tournament. Just wanted to throw
I
that one
knew there
out
would
there.
be a big blue link somewhere.
Um,
Just on that increased playoff thing, and you're talking about the AAW network as a whole. And I saw you posted yesterday, was it, that the Canadian Football League are going to expand their playoffs to an 8-team playoff. Now,
yes,
when you're
in the
talking about the
19 league,
PR and
yes.
stuff in a 9-team league, how do you spin the PR for being the team in a 9-team league that does not make an 8-team playoff? Good luck, PR team, for the
So
Tiger Cats that year, or the Red Hawks, or whoever it ends. And it won't be the Red Hawks. Coach Reinbold's going there. However, you get my point. I mean, could you imagine being that
yeah,
ninth team? How do you PR spin that?
so I will mention this, by the way. In like mentioned this to Adam and Nick off camera before you got into the room, and I think for most people, again, if you're relatively new to college football, you probably aren't as familiar with the CFL either, or particularly the UFL. But there are ways of doing that. So college is obviously the big one,
Amateur.
but and the NFL and college football exist in their own stratospheres as a whole themselves. They are the games that people watch. They are fall football, king of all. The UFL are trying to be the whole, let's be fun, engaging, interactive, and open, and try and be innovative with the way we do football. And, maybe the NFL can learn off us, and we'll try the things the NFL don't want to try and get wrong, like certain communications, the virtual technologies, and all that sort of stuff. That's what they're trying to be, and it's amazing. The CFL are, well, wouldn't it just be really fun if? And I think that's generally the way the CFL goes about it. It's the only league where you could be losing with 3 seconds to go, punt the ball and win.
Yep.
Because you get a point for punting it out the back of the end. It's wild. And CFL is solely based on.
But can't you punt on third down and catch your own punt and get another
Yeah.
first down as well? Something
Yeah.
absolutely ludicrous. Yeah.
The CFL is based on, let's get the rule book, let's tear it up, let's throw it up, catch some pages, and then put it back together in the
Slap some
order of
maple
the
syrup
pages
on
that
it,
you
eh?
catch it in. Right, and then just say what would be vibes? What would just be vibes? Okay, get a point for pointing out the back of the end zone. That's a vibe.
Basically, we're just saying that Canadian football is basically our version of Scottish football.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, you're just going with the north of the border sort of reference. I get it,
but don't they have
just
a playoff?
A quarter of our listeners just disappear there.
Well, don't they have a playoff in Scottish football where the entire league makes the playoffs, and just how shit you are depends on which playoff bracket you go in.
It in half,
they split it in half,
Yeah.
don't they? But they do only have I think they play each other 48 times or something, don't they? Because there's a 10-team league. Yeah, but I get it. No, but there's some crazy stuff in the Canadian league. But then again, you look at it and you think you only get 4 months of sunlight every now and again, so they've got to squeeze as much craziness into those league games as possible, right? Because otherwise it's dark and winter and ice hockey takes over.
They want Diego Pavia there.
Ah, he's gone to Baltimore.
Could you imagine having to go from New Mexico and Tennessee and then going up to Toronto,
Ontario, and Quebec, and right the north end of Saskatchewan?
But yeah, so I just wanted
to. We do know our
that
Canadian geography.
Do not judge football on Canadian football, because that's based on basically the meetings go, do you know what would be really funny? And then someone goes, great idea, I love it, let's do it. So anyway, going back to Nick's news, do you want to hit us with that final piece of news, Nick?
Right. So on Monday morning, Texas Tech quarterback Brendan Sorsby didn't turn up for class, and everyone panicked. Where is he? Where is he? Where is he? Turns out he'd voluntarily entered a gambling addiction program, of his own volition, it has come to light that Sorsby has made thousands of bets, not thousands of dollars worth, thousands of bets on a variety of sports, both college and professional. Now, the NCAA have opened an investigation. Texas Tech, as soon as they found out on Monday morning, immediately reported it. They've come out in support of Brendan Sorsby and said that obviously their priority is to make sure he's okay and that his mental health is sorted and that he gets the help that he needs. Now, the rules are very technical because depending on what you do, what the rules say is if you're caught betting on professional sport, then you will suffer a suspension. If you're found to be betting on college sports, that's not a suspension, that's a ban and loss of eligibility. Now, not only was he betting on college sports, but when he was at Indiana as a freshman, he redshirted for 1 year. He was betting on Indiana games. Indiana to win. He was betting on Indiana to win. He wasn't playing, but he was betting on his own team to win. Now, based on that, that's his last year of his eligibility. That's this year's eligibility gone.
Yeah.
So,
well, it should be, right?
Well, the only precedence you have is Hunter Deckers got caught doing the same, and he lost every single bit of eligibility he had left, and he ended up going and playing junior college football. Now, Sorsby's only got a year left of eligibility. If the NCAA say, well, you're going to lose this year's eligibility, as he's already in a medical scenario, he could technically redshirt, lose this year, and come back next year. But if they ban him completely, he can't do that. So the only way he can play is go to the NFL next year in next year's draft, having not played for an entire year, or he goes and plays a year of junior college.
Well, there's a supplemental draft in the summer as well, isn't there? I think with the NFL, where they pick up some players.
So he could basically
possibly, yeah.
crap, mess
but
it up.
if he's not fit because he's in a, if he's still in a program and what have you, then that's different. Today, I was listening to a pod today, and apparently Cincinnati supposedly might have known about this. And Brendan Sorsby owes Cincinnati money. And there is a rumor going around that Cincinnati are the ones that have
shocked him.
Sort of accidentally
let this slip.
Yeah. Now, if Cincinnati knew about it and didn't report it, that opens them up to issues. So why would they report it if they didn't know? Do you see what I don't quite get? That side of the story doesn't make sense, because all you do, if you knew about it, you're opening yourself up to a big problem. And I think Texas Tech are doing the right thing, but they're also trying to say, well, we came clean here and we did this and we did that, and maybe just ban him for the rest of the season and he can redshirt as on a medical grounds because he's not mentally fit. And then we can have him back again next, because they've obviously paid him $5 million to play this year. So I don't know how it would go with the NFL. Would the NFL want a guy that's hasn't played in a year, has got betting issues, and I don't know whether he'd get in the NFL. Would have a lot of questions for him, and so it's a whole big mess.
Also, no, that was alcohol, wasn't it? He checked himself into. But
the final bit of thing that I've taken note of is, since they've changed this portal system, there's only one transfer portal now. So there's no spring portal for Texas Tech to bring in another QB.
No.
So they have to go with Will Hammond, who is their backup but is currently with an ACL tear. He might not be fit till week 3 at the earliest. Or they have to go with one of their youngsters that's barely played. Now, I was having a look, and they can't transfer anybody in, but they could bring in
Aren't they
players who
walk-ons?
players who have eligibility left that haven't gone to the NFL or haven't played Division 1. So, do you remember JT Daniels? He
Name
was
rings a
the
bell.
guy he was the guy who retired on medical grounds in 2023 because of multiple concussions. He retired mid-season, like December the 1st.
Yeah.
Multiple concussions. He was playing for Georgia, I think.
Reasonably
Georgia
big
or
team, wasn't
Rice.
it?
He might have been,
Rice.
Rice he was at. Now, he has eligibility left. He's been coaching. He's been a coach at West Virginia. He's been an analyst. So, technically, if you could convince him to come out of medical retirement, you could sign him. Or, if Texas Tech were desperate to sign somebody, they would have to go to Division 2. And the best QBs available are RJ Martinez from West Texas A&M and Cannon Gibson from UT Permian Basin. Never heard of them.
Wow.
They're the
Is there
they're the only two. They're the only two that are even worth looking at. So Texas Tech are right under the cosh. Brendan Sorsby's completely ballsed up his entire remaining year. Don't know what the NFL are going to make of this, and the NCAA have got a whole can of worms to sift through.
I think the NCAA have to do something as well because
They do,
he's
yeah.
voluntarily checked himself in, hasn't he?
Yes.
yeah.
So, and it's become news. I mean, if it hadn't got out, then the NCAA might have been like, okay, time to work it out. Let's kind of.
Well, I wonder whether if Texas Tech knew about this,
Yeah.
because maybe if it's true that Cincinnati knew about this, then maybe Cincinnati were doing that of just let's keep it all cush hush.
Keep it all cush. Keep it all straight. Send him across the board as soon as he's out the door. Say, by the way.
But surely this gets figured out in the locker room pretty quickly if he's sitting there on every app in between practices, putting bets on anything that will move. You've got, I struggle to believe that these things happen, that the extent of
Suddenly
that
happens in an off season or whatever. Yeah.
Bets, that's got to be constant. I think the other stat was like 20 bets a day. Someone's going to watch you do that.
Someone's got to be able to keep an eye on that, right?
One of the things that is also important to note is Indiana and Ohio are both betting is legal in those states. Obviously, there are some states in which betting is illegal, but the minimum age is 21. He turned 21 in January 2025. So he'd already left Indiana and was in Ohio for at least a year. So a lot of those bets were placed while underage. Because if he's betting in Indiana, like you said there, Nick, on Indiana to win, he's underage. And he's legally not even if he can even if you can legally bet in the state, he can't legally bet because he's not old enough. And what I was being, or I guess seeing on some of the things was like he was basically placing bets over multiple states. So I'm guessing he's using a VPN and tapping into the next state along, and then the next state along, and then the next state along, to make some of those bets as well, which is crazy.
Which also, you think he's possibly under the cosh for some rather unsavory characters if his betting has not been potentially very successful either. You hear horror stories of loan sharks and whatever else. So
his betting has been on an app, so it seems to be he has been betting on an app. So
on a regulated system, he's not been down a dodgy betting.
It seems to be just that habit. He was betting on it's like putting dollar bets down and stuff like that at certain points. They weren't all massive 10 grand bets on a team winning. It was silly
Just
things.
compulsive stuff,
It's not
though.
down with
It
Bricktop
Compulsive
shows it.
stuff.
and Turkish down at the
Yeah.
down at bare knuckle boxing. Like, I'll put 50
Yeah.
quid on
So,
that.
so
It's not
interesting. So
betting on
if it
them
was
one
on a
going
if it was
down
on
in
a
the fourth.
regulated app, then it's
Yeah.
potentially the app have kind of gone, hang on, we've kind of recognized something, and maybe they have flagged it to the NCAA and going,
Yeah, but
why
Because I
don't
think
surely
you?
it
it
happened in the
takes
And
past.
surely
therefore
it
not
takes the app.
Cincinnati and not.
Surely it takes the app more than 4 years to discover this.
I mean, either
Maybe
way,
maybe he started getting good. Maybe he started winning.
I mean, either
Cynical.
way,
Sorry.
I think it's obvious that if he's making that many bets a day, as Adam said, if he's making that many bets a day, if he's doing it over maybe a couple of, people will know about it. And if you're betting at Indiana, and the reason why it's very frowned upon for like to bet on the NFL, but extra like, it's banned. You banned if you do the college game. If you're at Indiana, you're not starting, but you know. Right, let's just like Adam, you are the starting wide receiver for Indiana. Right, congratulations, by the way. It's a great position to be in. Um, you're dealing with a little bit of a hamstring problem, and we don't know if you're going to play on Saturday. So your odds are actually a little bit better than no, because you might not play. So your odds to get 3 catches and a touchdown are great.
Lower than they
Like
would
like
be. Yeah.
10-1, where normally they would be 3-1. I'm just spitting random numbers here. I know because I've just spoke to you. You're going to play on Saturday, right? You're going to play on
Uh,
Saturday. You just turned around and said my hamstring's feeling fine. Like they've cleared me. I feel great. I'm going to go out and play. So I'm going to go place that £5, 10-1. I know you're playing, and then I'm in the team meeting later saying, "Oh, look, the routes that you run is exactly where Penn State are really weak. So we're going to just keep targeting you. And in the end zone, we've got 5 routes specifically designed for you to get in the end zone." So I know that you're going to definitely get 5 catches, and I know you're definitely going to get at least touchdown opportunities in the end zone. Why am I not? You can do that because you have that insider information.
mhm.
So, like, it's also,
It's a massive integrity issue.
yeah.
Huge integrity, and as you say, that's why the NFL frown upon it because of the integrity of their, bringing the game into disrepute and all that sort of stuff, and the ability to players to affect massive betting games and betting
And
syndicates and whatever else in the NFL. So yeah, absolutely. There's way too many dodgy grey areas here where the NCAA really have got themselves in a well, they haven't got themselves in a pickle,
yeah.
or maybe they have by letting it
And
go as far. They really need to do something, but what they do will have massive repercussions, not just obviously for Sorsby, but for
and
just
I
yeah.
down the line.
I think all the NCAA can do is ban him.
They
Yeah.
have to.
And they have to, the rules that, all they can do is take away the rest of his eligibility and say,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, you know.
So
Now,
rules are rules. Here, everyone knows it. It's written here in black and white. Everyone knows it. At
yeah,
least they have that to fall back on. I think is
whether
from them.
whether that gets reduced on an appeal or whatever else, I don't know. But all the NCAA can really do is follow their rules, and if they follow their rules, he is going to lose his remaining year of eligibility, and he has to make the decision: does he go and play a year of junior college, so at least he's playing, or does he go into the draft in a year's time cold, having not played for a year?
And then yeah, as you say, and then flip side of that or counter to that, what did Texas do with it?
Yeah.
Because they are
Well, there's
without
an
a starting QB.
there's
And
there's
then
a controversial option C as well
oh,
at Texas
what would
Tech,
you like? Go on,
which
throw in
is
then.
so it's essentially what Nick was saying. You can't sign players outside of that portal. It's called a ghost transfer, and there's penalties for it. But I'm sure someone in Texas Tech is looking down that penalty list and going, okay, so if we do it, our coach misses 50% of the games
Yeah,
and we get a fine of 20% of
fine.
our
This
sports budget. But we're Texas Tech. We've got a very
budget of
wealthy backer. We think we've got enough about us to deal with the early part of the season without a coach on the sidelines. Maybe we just go and pluck someone
maybe
and deal with the consequences.
maybe we suck it up and get a
And
clever accounting NIL deal around the
yeah,
side corner type thing outside of the
figure
sports,
something out.
outside of
And
the athletic department budget, but somehow the English department is funding
yeah,
football for a year.
is it worth the cost and the penalty for, we think we've got a decent team.
We
We
just
just
need
need
that
that
last
ball
piece.
back. It's win now. maybe go
Or, but
looking
could
at
you
Dylan
imagine,
Murray or someone.
the fallout if they did that and actually got to the playoffs?
their non-conference schedule is actually really easy. And
It's the SC. Yeah.
so they've got Houston and they've got Kentucky, I think, are their two hardest games, I think. And then their non-conference games are really easy. So I think that there's a chance that they could sort of rely heavily on their defense and just go, we're going to try and win the game 12-9
Yeah.
try and win every game 12-9.
Just lean heavily on the run game.
I do have one more question, and we do need to, I think, start moving on to the actual topic in the day. Is it possible? Because you can sign up to the NFL draft, go through the whole process, not get drafted. And technically, once you are drafted, the team owns your rights. And once you are a UDFA, I think that within those first couple of days, you get certain things on players' rights. But there was a cut-off point of like Sunday night, where if you hadn't got even a UDFA, there were certain protections that player doesn't have. Now, let's just say Diego Pavia has agreed to go to Baltimore, but he hasn't signed the contract yet. Let's say he hasn't signed it. They've just agreed it, and that's what's been reported. They've agreed to a contract. If he hasn't literally signed on the dotted line that deal, could someone like Diego Pavia not go back for one more year?
He hasn't
Because
got any more eligibility
oh, yeah.
left.
But an example, and is there anybody with an eligibility? But I thought once you declare for the draft, even if you're not drafted,
Yeah,
you're
this is a
kind
rule.
of saying, "See your NCAA, I'm out."
Owen Heineke has just come back to college football, having declared for the draft. He realised he wasn't. He at the very best he was going to be a seventh rounder or a UDFA, and he changed his mind and decided to go back to college.
Did he
Now he
do that
had to.
before the draft?
No, well, no. He went to the combine. He did his combine and everything else. He had to go to court. He had to launch illegal proceedings against the NCAA to let him come back, of which literally last week before the draft, I think the Tuesday before the draft started on the Thursday, he won his case and was allowed back. So whoever it is, whether it be Joe Bloggs or John Smith, he will probably have to appeal and go and launch a legal case with the and try and sort of get back in that way. But there is the possibility you could get back, I suppose.
there will be ways to do it. And let's face it, given the NCAA's track record in courts at the moment, I'd chance it and just say, go on, and watch the court go, yeah, did the NCAA say no? Okay, go on then, do it. That's okay. It's like
that's why I said you might get the NCAA banning Sorsby for good, and then Sorsby appeals in
yeah,
court and might get it just as a suspension. I don't
you
know.
like the NCAA and courts at this moment in time are like two parents who are very much not in lockstep with each other. It's like, Dad, can I have this? What did your mum say? Mum said no. Yeah, go on then. You can have it. It's fine. I'll let you have. I'll get it for you. It's one of it's that kind of thing. So, but also the last bit on this aren't Cincinnati trying to get some cash off him
Yes,
because he
Yeah,
transferred as well. So at the same
$2 million.
time,
he owes them $1 million.
Not a good week to be Brendan Sorsby. Right. So going on to the 2026 NFL draft that happened over the weekend. It was a great night on Thursday night. Gary joined us, Nick joined us. Unfortunately, Adam wasn't there with us, but you were there in spirit, there in knowledge. With us, a great night with good teams winning, great teams covering the entire first round. It was a lot of fun. Nick rolled with every punch that was made about Diana Rossini and Mike Vrabel. I was very, very proud of you. You just took every single punch.
Much like Diana took every. No, moving on.
Bloody hell, Gary.
Come on.
But I was
To
very.
be fair, what can you say? What else can you say other than yeah, it is a me personally, I'm not involved, right? Providing he continues to coach my team and continues to coach them to the best of his ability, um, I'm really not that bothered, to be
Yeah.
honest. It's
I mean, I
Um,
can understand the hoo-ha, quite frankly, because of the fact it's a female reporter, and therefore and it's historically, and there's some stuff coming out about when he was at the Titans and all sorts of, and how long has it been going on and whatever else. And I can understand the vitriol that she's getting because it's not a good look for female reporters in the NFL and other places who have to fight their way to get stories. And now it's like, well, you only get it now because you're sleeping with the boss. He seems to have been getting away with it, and it's just like, hang on, with this righteous right wing America who is all about family values and stuff. He just seems to be getting away with it scot free, even though he is also married to
um,
somebody else, allegedly. And of course, this is all alleged and not proven, and we'd like to counter the fact that this is all alleged, and we
I
don't
mean,
know anything for factual basis.
I mean,
Thank you,
that
lawyers.
conversation just went an entirely different way than I was kind of hoping it would. But it happens. It's my fault
you
as a
brought
host.
it
Your own
up.
damn fault
Uh,
for opening that can of
all
worms.
I was saying was there were a lot of jokes about it on the night. Nick took them well, and I was going to
I
walk off.
did.
And then the conversation just happened. And as a host, I feel like I should have reined that
You
back
should
in.
have probably you
I
jumped on
chose
that.
not to. I made a conscious decision not to, and I don't feel bad about it. I just acknowledge it. So it was a good 3 days. We had a lot of fun. Um, but what I kind of want to look at is what this means for college and how the draft played out and what this how it matches the state of college football, I guess, at this moment in time. So I'm going to read off a couple of statistics for you and go from there. So this is the first time in 46 years, 47 years, that no FCS player was taken in rounds 1 to 3. First time in 47 years. So every single FCS player who declared for the draft was still waiting on Saturday. That has not happened in 47 years. It was a historically good night, good weekend for the SEC, who saw a record 87 picks out of the SEC this year. It beats the previous record of 78 picks, which was set last year by the SEC.
So that's a 1 in 3, just roughly. 1 in 3 picks was an SEC player because there's
Roughly 1 in 3,
roughly
yeah.
260, was it? Something,
257 or something.
Yeah.
So 80, 1 in 3 picks
Rough,
was
yeah,
an
pretty much spot on 1 in 3
freaking
picks was
hell.
it from the SEC. It is the 20th year in a row that the SEC has led the draft in number of picks. I'll just read this table out. So obviously the SEC had the most with 87. Second was the Big Ten with 68. That seems pretty obvious. So if you take nearly a third, and then that's
Over a
nearly
half,
half
isn't
of
it?
the
It's
draft.
over a half.
Over half of the draft was the Big Ten of the SEC. The ACC and Big 12 both followed in joint third with 38 each. FBS Independents made up for 7 picks. The FCS made up for 4. The American Conference 4, the MAC 4, the Mountain West 3, the Sun Belt 2, Conference USA 1, and the IPP claimed, well, technically 2, but one of those goes under the SEC banner. So officially, the one IPP is the Nigerian gentleman Ua Bernard, who has never played football in his life but has gone to
Yeah,
the Cleveland Browns.
yeah. The other one, as you say, falls under the SEC.
Which we will get onto in just a second. But I mean, we'll start with that statistic. 50% plus over 50% of this NFL draft was the Big Ten and the SEC
Yeah.
alone.
It's now the finishing school for NFL draft or NFL caliber players, I think. Yeah, there's a step in between, isn't there, for a lot of players now where you're in the FBS somewhere. You have a good couple of seasons, and then maybe around junior time, senior time, you then step into the SEC Big Ten. They polish you, finish you in that program for a year, and then you head off into the draft.
Mm.
I think
Or they poach you from a college that you're doing really well in because they want you, and it's from a player's perspective, it's yes, you're stepping up and you're getting polished, but for the
yeah,
the big colleges, they're like, yeah, you look good, we'll have you in our team, thank you very much, and the rich get richer, and the G5, G6 FCS don't, and it's interesting as we move forward whether or not we go, are they still going to be the G6, or is it now the
It's
G5
the
plus the
G5
new
now, isn't it?
pack plus the big four? Because
uh,
where's that pack?
I think we were
Where's
calling
the
them G6, weren't we? The
they were
Pac.
the G6? I thought the rename, or the Pac 12 that ended up being the Pac 2 ended up being the
Yeah,
G6, didn't
they
it?
put the
So
old, because when the Pac-12 got reduced, they put it back into the G, so that became the G6. But now that
mm,
the Pac-12 have got enough teams again, I think they're going back to a Pac, going back to Pac-12 as a power conference, and then the
is it?
G5.
Oh, so we're going back to a power
I would
conferences?
assume so over the next year. I would assume, because I think what the Pac-12 have said is basically we are back as we were, so
Yeah,
we shouldn't have lost anything. We shouldn't have lost
and the
any
autonomy
sort
and all
of
that stuff that they had
yeah.
before. But did we had a whole episode about that last year? God, I'd have to go back and re-listen to it. I'm sure we talked about the autonomy of the pack, the power conferences, and the fact that Pac-12 have lost
But
it by
it's
disintegrating.
it's
The, the,
part and parcel. It's part and parcel of the game now, isn't it? And
Mm.
the NIL means that if you find a player who's playing in G5 or G6, whatever you want to say, who's good, you're just going to recruit him
Yeah.
to a more powerful team. So the days of the lower teams having those power players to bring to the draft don't exist anymore
Yeah.
because they're being sort of farmed into the better teams. And it goes back to what Fletch said about the FCS not having any players. Well, for a few years, it's been North Dakota State that have been repping the
That's been it, right?
FCS.
Yeah.
Well, they've now gone to the FBS anyway.
Mm.
So the way that college football is changing means that the process is going to change with it.
It's in effect, it's taking on a pyramidal structure that we're used to in the
Yeah,
yeah,
UK of, hey, you're playing in the third and fourth division. Pretty good. Why don't you move up to the second division?
yeah.
Ah, you're playing in second and championship, which is
But
pretty good. One of the Premier League teams come along and go, we'll have you for a season. It's
yeah,
very similar to that for
but
a way of thinking about it for our audience.
and that's a great way to look at it because a League One team can't play in the Champions League. We all
Yeah.
know that. A League One player probably isn't going to play for England, but isn't going to play for England. He needs to go to the Premier League, probably, maybe sometimes the Championship.
If you're a
Normally the
Spurs
Premier
player.
League.
Yeah,
Yeah. Indeed.
technically,
So
a League One team could play in the Champions League if they won the
technically.
FA Cup. They would then represent in the UEFA Cup, and if they won
And
the
if they won the
UEFA Cup or
UEFA
the
Cup
yeah,
Europa League,
conference
and
or
then if
whatever,
they
yeah.
won the Europa League, they would be entitled to be in the Champions League. But that is the only way you could get, and
that is.
I don't think a League One team is going to win the FA Cup
I don't
and
know.
then win the Europa League
Didn't
anyway.
Coventry do that
But
years
it's
ago? They won the FA
technically
Cup and got
possible.
relegated, but it is technically possible.
Highly
Yeah.
unlikely.
But
But
practically,
Sorry,
it's not going to happen.
yeah,
no.
And so, as college football reshapes, it's probably the same sort of rules apply.
yeah.
If you're in
As
the
you say, the
FCS, you're
similarity
probably
would
not
be
going in the
the
first round.
FCS won't be playing in the college football
Yeah,
playoffs, and if a player wants to play in the college football playoffs, well, they're going to have to go and play at a team that's eligible at least, and then
But
yeah,
it's like they were said when the playoffs happened and James Madison and that got battered. They were saying about
preseason.
how maybe they need to split the playoffs into two anyway, and the G5 have their own playoffs. Well, that's all well and good, but all you're doing is just saying, "Sorry, you don't belong to our art. You don't belong to our world. You're not good enough." Well,
Yeah.
this is college football. This is It's not just the top echelons of college football. It's the whole. You have every right to be there, and if the deck is stacked against you, so be it. But you fight as much as you can and do the best you can, and just hope it's enough.
It's
Yeah.
interesting. I don't know what the fix is because, as you say, yes, every team should have the capability, and if you fight hard enough and you win your games, etc., you should have that potential and the capability of playing in the big games and in the bowl games and the playoffs and whatnot. But as Adams also mentioned, as this sort of pyramidal poaching feeder league continues to grow, and this process continues to get more refined, and the big teams just keep taking the juniors and the and the probably not the freshmen, but they'll take the juniors and they go, right, come on, you've had 2.5 years, 3 years to get ready, come play for us for the last year. That is inevitably going to mean that none of those teams, even if they have a 13-0 season and blitz their conference, by the time they hit the playoffs, the players are in the portal. They have to go and play somewhere else anyway, and they can't do anything because the portal was at such a stupid time of the year, and that's no doubt something we'll continue to harp on about. That they will never be competitive when it gets down to the nitty-gritty games because all of their players are like, sorry, I'm going to go play for Georgia and Alabama and whatever else, and I'm not really going to put my body on the line for this bowl game now because next year I'm getting paid $6 million to play, and I'm not really going to
I don't.
ruin that and risk that.
I don't know whether the Pac-12 missed the trick here. I get that in America they don't have promotion and relegation. I get that. But I don't know whether the Pac-12 missed the trick in that, okay, Oregon State and Washington State are the two core teams. They don't get
Founding
promoted.
members, yeah,
They
they
don't
are.
get relegated. They stay in the Pac-12 every year. And if you win Conference USA, if you win Mountain West, if you win Sunbelt East and you win Sunbelt West, and everyone who's in a G5 division wins your division, the following year you all get to play in the Pac 12 and you play a Pac 12 schedule, and then whoever wins the next year of the Sun Belts replaces the two teams and you get a chance to play at a higher level. That Because from a player's point of view, why do you stay at James Madison? Because you can't win anything, you can't go anywhere.
Yeah.
So hey, this team, Clemson are offering me a really good deal. I can go and play. I can go and play in that league, and I can go and play for a bigger team. I want to do that because I want to sort of
Test yourself against
push
better.
myself and have a better college career. Great, but if there was something for James Madison to fight for, if there was some way that James Madison can say, "We are better than what you think we are," it gives them a chance. But again, I'm spitballing on an idea that probably got missed because they don't consider promotion and relegation when really the Pac-12, when it was just two teams, was a prime target for something like that. The fact is, college football as a landscape is changing. You need to consider new
You
ideas
need to consider out
to
there ideas, completely
yeah,
ideas that are out there. I mean, I get that it's probably going to be quite tricky on that front from a logistical point of view to kind of go, right, we're going to put the schedule out, and we don't know what the schedule is because we don't know who's winning those divisions and la la la.
yeah,
I'm sure that could have been worked out, but it's a great idea. I mean, as you say, and even they could potentially do that, right? Playoffs between all the G5 winners, whoever wins that, you go and play in the Pac-12 this year, and the worst team in the Pac-12 goes back to the original conference they were in because they've all been, you know,
yeah,
siphoned or borrowed or moved from other divisions and other lower level conferences anyway. So
Yeah.
San Jose State or whatever, San Antonio State or whatever, they can go back and play in Conference USA or whatever it is they came from for that year because it's all been shuffled around. It's a great idea, but as you say, they need to do something to give these teams the capability and give the players the capability of thinking they can progress because you're right, players are just going to go great, in 3 years I'll give my all and I'll do really well. Big team comes knocking from the ACC, SEC, Big Ten, or whatever else, and they're gonna, take it because it's 1 year. They could set themselves up for numerous years financially, but also have the potential, as you say, Adam, to have their career polished and have better coaching and better PR and better agencies and and therefore maybe, just maybe, might go in the third round rather than might be an undrafted or a sixth or seventh rounder.
Yeah.
Who's not going to take that opportunity?
Yeah, especially when you think some of these smaller schools, they're investing time, effort, money into these players, and they don't get any compensation. There's no transfer fee.
Yeah.
So you just wave the guy
Just go,
out
great.
the door.
Here's our scholarship fees. Here's all the stuff we've given you,
Yeah,
walking out the door for absolutely nothing at all. Yeah.
yeah.
And I think
And
we've talked about that before, haven't we, Fletch? We had that whole, sure, we've had that discussion about if this continues, will the transfer portal come with some
Form of
compensation?
compensation for what you lose.
Yeah.
Obviously, the interesting bit's going to be how would you deal with that compensation? Would it be essentially with every player being under some form of NIL deal? Does the school they transfer to then pay
pay
Back.
out that
what
deal
that
maybe.
if they were due to pay them, I don't know, there was still $1 million left on the table, and you transfer to Texas Tech, the Texas Tech have to pay that $1 million. Using today's example with Brendan Sorsby.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess let's say it's costing you, argument's sake, $10,000 a year to house the student, feed him, train him,
Teach him.
transport him to games and whatever else. Let's say it's $10,000 a year per student. Okay, he's been with us 30 years, and now you were going to take him in the transfer portal. You owe us 30 grand. That is the bottom. That is the set fee of whatever, 10 grand a year, let's say. That is the set fee for what a school is entitled to for every player they lose in the transfer portal. Now,
Yeah.
that money shouldn't, to in truth, that money shouldn't come from the team that's buying the player. That money should come from the player,
Yeah.
in my
Yeah.
opinion. So if you are
He's the one
signing,
who's
if you are
gone in the
signing
portal.
a £1 million NIL deal, well, great, you get 970,000, and that 30 grand goes to the school you're leaving because you just spent 3 years there.
Yeah.
That's something that maybe something work like that, but
Don't give your agent 5%. Give it back to your academy school, if you like thinking of
Yeah.
academy over
Yeah.
here type thing. But
then you get agents kicking off because at the end of the day they've done the work, but now they don't get paid to do the work, and then they start. It's so messy, and any solution is going to be messy because you are going to have to. All of these things that have happened have just been evolutions of different parts of things that have kind of already been taking place. This is now creating bridges and gaps that don't exist and haven't existed, and saying, well, how do we then balance it? The plates are in the air, then you go and put the sticks under them and start to get them going. It's
somebody's
really,
juggling and somebody's moved the jugglers, and it's like, yeah, that's
yeah.
pretty much the situation, isn't it? Yeah.
So that's gonna be really, but we're not here to do that yet. We're not here to fix that part of college football yet.
That's for the off season. That's for the off season.
That's
yeah.
that's
How
something
did we
again,
get onto that? We went right down a rabbit hole there when we were talking about teams and players that got drafted.
Where I was saying, where we'll go back on to how this ends up affecting the draft, and one of the places that I feel is interesting. I'm going to read from what I put in the group chat the other day. Cannot remember the account I got it from, so I'm very, very sorry if you were the account that posted this the graphic. Let me know. But if you take players where they were drafted versus players where they signed in high school, the SEC were plus 33 in terms of, 33 players more were taken.
Didn't start in the SEC, did they?
Yeah, didn't
Ended up.
start in the SEC, but got drafted by the SEC. The Big Ten were plus 12. The Big 12 were just brilliantly plus 12.
Big 12. Just perfect for the Big 12, yeah.
The
ACC did well.
ACC had were spot on. Notre Dame, I'm guessing that's just one specific thing for Notre Dame. Spot on. It's 5 players drafted, 5 players started there, kind of thing. G5 were -23. More players drafted started in the G5 than were drafted by Big 12 teams. And the ACC, to be fair. The FCS D2 NAIA were -17 and JUCO was -13 in this graph. So
Yeah.
you see the fact that the Big Four, apart from the ACC, who 38 players drafted out of the ACC, 38 of the players drafted started in the ACC. Now, this doesn't say that there aren't players who started in the ACC but got drafted somewhere else. This doesn't mean that someone else didn't start somewhere else and then got drafted by the ACC. It just means, on average, it balances out. One player who went is one who came in from the draft. As would be very, very obvious, but the Big Four, the Power Four, they're the beneficiaries of this.
Power 3.5.
Well, three and
It's another indication of the Power 4 really actually being probably a Power 3 and a bit, and the ACC not living up to the Power 4 reference that they
well,
seem to bang the drum about.
Yeah,
I don't
I'm
think.
guessing the Big 12 numbers skewed a little bit by Texas Tech and what they did this year because they
Yeah.
obviously had a lot of incoming.
Yeah.
Yeah. But this is. I would love to see this from 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And how many
I'd
more. I mean,
imagine they'd all, yeah, I can imagine they'd all near enough be similar to, Notre Dame and the ACC, where pretty much we
Just
recruited
flat.
them. We
I think,
recruited them, and maybe one or two either side,
yeah,
but so I wouldn't expect to see a plus 33. That is a huge
because
discrepancy or
players did
disparity,
transfer
whatever.
10 years ago, didn't they? They did transfer. It was just a lot less common and a lot
And
less.
you 10 years wasn't 10 years ago. You still had to give up the next year. You couldn't.
Yeah. And there were
There was
two
all that,
transfer portals and all that sort of
and
stuff.
all that sort of stuff.
Um,
But yeah,
I just
it's
think, yeah.
But there was transferring for different reasons, I guess, wasn't there? There was the educational bit was probably still more of a thing at
yeah,
the top level. There's probably a little bit of financing under the table, whereas now it's
Reggie Bush.
brown paper bag. Whereas now it's very upfront, it's very explicit, and this is the thing that's getting players to move across the country, and some of that is into the SEC, but a lot of it is, you think about performance and in the Big Ten, a lot of it is getting spread just wider across the country as well.
Yeah.
There was an interview. Tom Brady did an interview a couple of months ago, and he was saying about if he'd been playing for Michigan now rather than when he did, rather than sit there and suffer like he did and whatever, he would have just transferred out and gone and played somewhere else. But he said that it was that sitting there and struggling and fighting and scrapping for every down
Every rep and every
and
down.
every
Yeah,
rep and that built his demeanor and allowed him to become the greatest that he is. And you just think that genuinely, when you think about somebody like that, if they just transferred out and gone to a different school and played, if the greatest player to ever play the game could have had a very different
one
career,
of.
how sheer much change this transfer portal and the style of college football today has on every individual player without us realizing it.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
absolutely. Absolutely. And I think one of the important things is like how we can talk about the players going in and out the draft, which is what we're doing, but we also need to look at the ones who don't go in the draft, right? The ones who do a couple of transfers but just never quite make it and become make it to the draft. Because if you've transferred a couple of times, what real weight is your degree worth?
Yeah.
So what you do when you go out into what you do when you go out into the real world and your degree doesn't really mean anything because it's in bit part by Notre Dame, which is obviously great. And look, Notre Dame as an academic institution is one of the finest on the planet. So there are people who you walk in and say, I've got a degree in janitorial cleaning from Notre Dame, and they're like, I have a CEO job because like it holds that much weight, but it's in part by Notre Dame, in part by North Dakota State, in part by Cal, and in part by Tulane. Like, those institutions may be fine institutions, but it's in part everywhere.
Yeah.
It's partly everywhere. So there isn't any real weight to the degree or the name on the piece of paper that you get at the end of it,
But a
and you
degree is a
screw yourself.
degree.
Yeah. Is it worth the paper it's written on?
But is it like a degree from Notre Dame is not the same as a degree from Tulane, though, for example?
Great.
Um,
I wonder whether these student athletes now, when they go into that freshman year or even before then, it's you almost have to really be clear on what you're doing. Are you there for that degree and you're going to focus on that and play a little bit of sport, maybe at a lower level? Or are you really following the stream and having a proper run at it? In which case, you may have to go back and tidy up the education once it's over in one way, shape, or form.
yeah.
Yeah.
That choice is almost thrust upon them a lot earlier now.
We talked about last year in the off season. We talked about how when you get into the end of the college season, some of those lads that know they're not going to make it in the NFL, rivalry week is their last, is their last game. They're not going to go to the Shrine Bowl. They're not going to the Senior Bowl. That literally is, this is my last year. I've got to the end. It's rivalry week. This is the last time I'm going to pad up, and they give it everything. And yet the game finishes, and they just stand there looking around because they're never going to get this. There's no Saturday morning football. There's no
There's no
Sunday morning
pickup
football
league, is
like
there? You
there's no
can't just go
rock
and
up
pad
down
up
the
and
local
go.
park
Yeah.
and play a game. So that's the last time that they'll ever get to experience that. And I feel sorry for those guys, but
Yeah.
then they have to accept, like we all do, you have to get up, go into the real world, get a job, and just suck it up and move on. But
So
you've had an incredible college career and you've got an education.
yeah.
Ultimately, no matter unless you are the elite of the elite, your education should come first regardless.
I think the education should anyway, because the career, even if you do go to the NFL, the career is only going to last you what
Not for
if you
long.
well, NFL not for long, but the average NFL career 3 years. If you're very lucky, there are people who bounce around for 10 years. If you're extra lucky and you can do Tom Brady and you can be in the NFL for 20 years, but like out of thousands and thousands of thousands, two, three ever will ever do that.
Yeah.
Um, I and that money is finite, right?
Yeah.
That money is finite to the dot. So you're in the NFL for 3 years, maybe you go make 5 million, but that 5 million can't last you the rest of your life. So that education still needs to be in there because you might not go and get another coach. You might not want to go into coaching. You might just want to leave football altogether, but you might want to invest some of that money. You might want to start your own business. You might want to, and you need to get your education and really focus on that to be able to do those things as well as you leave even football and you do get to go to the NFL. So, um, education should absolutely be the forefront of what you do, and it's a luxury to be able to play football while you do it. And you
It,
may have to swap teammates for colleagues and head coaches and position coaches for team leaders and assistant managers, but
if if you think about football over here, way back when you were a young kid playing, if you signed for a professional team when you were a young kid, you got a YTS contract, didn't you? You got paid
Yeah.
90 quid a week, whatever it was, and you were in the youth academy and whatever else. But now academies have changed at in our football, and everything's changed. That education's put first. Like you look at, like, for example, up in Manchester, and Fletch can attest that City and United, all their academy players have to go to school. They go to St. Bute's. They go to St. Bute's, and they have an education, and their education comes first. And then once they've done their schooling for the day, they then go off to their respective academies, and they play their football and everything else, and then they go home. And but the education comes first. Now they get that you City United, they pay for that education. St. Boots isn't cheap. It's not cheap at all. It's a private school, but the football clubs pay for that education. But if you don't get that education, if you don't pass your grades and you don't pass your tests, the academy won't keep you. You don't get to play if you're not
Yeah.
if you're not passing your grades. So maybe there's a responsibility that the colleges have to attend to and say it's not all about football.
I think
You see it on
I mean, it used to
programs.
be.
Oh
It
well,
used
I'm
to be,
not going to
didn't
pass
it?
my test, so I've got you can't play if you don't pass this test. Well, sorry, you better pass that test then.
excuse me. If you watch things like Last Chance U, and I know that you're talking JUCO, but if you watch things like Last Chance U, they are on the players. Like, you need to hold a 3.0 GPA or whatever it is
Yeah,
to be able to continue. If you want to transfer and go to New Mexico State, then you need a minimum of a 3.2 GPA. I don't know what the GPAs are for respective schools, and I'm not going to school there, so I don't really need to know. But you need to get a 3.2 GPA, because otherwise New Mexico State cannot take you in. Um,
Hmm.
and one guy, I follow him on Instagram. He plays for Florida State, and his content is amazing, and he does a lot of the these are the things about being a college athlete that you don't need to know. And it's like, well, here's why ex-athletes take courses like underwater basket weaving,
Mhm.
because as well as classes, we're also now doing this and 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 this. And when we're done with classes, all of our other classmates, they go back to the dorms. They go for food. They might go do the part time. They might go do it, but they've got the rest of the day for free. Free. I've got to go to the gym. I've got to go and do this workout. Then I've got to go and do this meeting. Then I've got to go and do that. All while I've got the all while I've got the linebackers coach's niece following me around campus and going, right, he is going into the building that he should be going in. Call. Yep, he's in the building. He's in his class. He's going. He's like, it's just so some of the courses and some of the ways it's weighed up is a bit odd, I think, to get them through it and make it work. But anyway, right, they want us to get back on this. So I'm gonna, according to the NCAA.com as well, this year with 4 FCS players going in the draft, it is the lowest amount since 2015, where according to the NCAA, but I've looked up a couple of bits on it. I don't know how exactly true it is. Only one FCS player went in, so which I thought was really interesting. You can count three more FCS players if you account for guys who played FCS football all the way up until their final year and only transferred out for their final year. So you look at that minus 13. Is it minus 13? You look at that minus 17, and it's JUCO's minus 13. A lot of those started, yes, but their sophomore year they went to changed. Their junior year they changed and then did the senior year. But if you count the guys who did 2-3 years and then only did went up for the final year, you've got North Carolina A&T, Caron Prunty, who went to Wake Forest for his last year. Then you've got Keyshawn James Newby, who went to New Mexico for his final year, but spent the majority other than 1 year at Idaho. And then you've got Evan Bainston, who spent most of his career at South Dakota State and then went to Northwestern for his final year. So that nearly doubles the amount of FCS players taken if you just take the guys who went for the final year. But they don't
Mm.
count as FCS
No.
draftees. They count as, well, two of them are Power 4 and one of them's G6.
Yeah, I mean, you do we make the argument that it's good that those players were good enough to get spotted and get dragged up through the system? Um, it shows that obviously they're recruiting, they're doing some development at that level, and they're just being finished elsewhere. It's not great for those schools. Um, if they weren't getting anyone anywhere near the draft, and it was just 4 bars on there, well, 5 bars including Notre Dame, that's potentially a bigger issue because it means those
Yeah.
players weren't good enough in the first place.
Yeah. Um, one of the
Silver
other,
linings and all that.
yeah. Um, does anyone know the split by round for G6 teams?
Fifth,
No.
sixth, seventh. Can't imagine they were much higher than that, were they?
So how many? Okay, let's go round by round. How many G6 players were taken in the first round? And again, you're talking players who. I'm not talking players who started there. I'm just talking players who were taken out of the G6 in the first round.
0.
One.
One. Can you remember who it was?
No, who was the guy? Fork, wasn't it? Didn't he
Nope.
stop?
He
No,
was at Auburn. So I'm talking about players
I thought
who
he.
where they officially get drafted from, not where you would consider for most of the career.
Oh,
So Keldrick Falk officially was Auburn. So
Auburn. Yeah, sorry. Okay,
Oh, there was one UCF guy, wasn't there?
UCF. The
no.
wasn't
Malachi Lawrence.
yeah, USF. Yeah, he got drafted by the Cowboys.
Yeah,
Yeah,
number
23
22,
or whatever it was. They
wherever
traded
the
back for him.
Cowboys went to.
Yeah,
The NCAA has this all wrong then.
yeah, because he was Lawrence was UCF, wasn't he?
Okay, so that's two.
Yeah. Who's the
Wait,
other
no, no,
one?
no, 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 no,
Wait. What?
no, no.
What?
Yes, he is UCF, but UCF is Big 12, so he's
Oh, of
Power
course,
4.
yeah.
Um,
Thinking of South Florida. Yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking
mm,
USF or yeah,
so
University of
he's
South.
out of UCF, but that's Power 4 because it's Big 12. Only one player out of the G6, and it wasn't who everyone thought it was gonna be.
Who was the other reach?
See, I don't think he was a reach. I think he had a legit shot of going round one. I just didn't think he had a legit shot of going round one over the other guy.
It can't be Chris Johnson, is
Chris
it?
Johnson out of San Diego State was taken 27th overall by the Miami Dolphins.
Yeah,
The only G6 player taken in the first round. How many were taken in the second?
none. Shut up, Cat. Cat disagrees
3.
with me, obviously.
Not three.
One.
One. Correct. And who was that? The guy everyone thought was going in the first round.
No, it wasn't McNeil Warren. He
It
went
was
third.
Oh,
McNeil
McNeil
Warren.
Warren, yeah.
Did
McNeil
he?
Warren.
I thought he went third. That's why I said no. Okay.
He just kept falling
Just
on
said,
the day.
yeah.
It was crazy. He went 58th overall to the Cleveland Browns in their pick from San Francisco.
Yep.
In the
Thanks.
second round. I
wish we had picked him. We
so
did some weird picks.
McNeil
Anyway.
Warren out of Toledo, and then in the third round,
Third round or a couple, I think.
3.
nope,
5.
nope,
One again.
1.
one again. Well, see, Adam is
Adam's on
smashing
it.
this. Adam
Adam is on it.
I can't remember the names,
Just keep saying one.
Start on one and work your way up. Yeah.
It was Ted Hurst out of Georgia State. He was so in days 1 and 2, where there were 100 picks, 3 of them were not Power 4. 3 of them were not Power 4. I won't make you do it for the rest of the draft, don't worry, because day 3 was a little bit busier for the for the P4 P6, sorry. Nope, G6. In round 4, 3 players went. That would be Cage Casey from Boise State, Travis Burke out of Memphis, and Skylar Bell out of UConn. In round 5, go on then, Adam, I'll let you have this one. How many were taken in round 5?
What?
One correct. There it is. He goes again. That was Jaden
He's on
Duggar.
it. He's on it.
Jaden Duggar out of Louisiana. In round 6, none were taken. And in round 7, 8 were taken. Anthony Smith out of Eastern Carolina, Landon Robinson out of Navy, Jackson Kiwach out of Miami, Ohio, Eli Heinrich out of Navy, Andre Fuller from Toledo, Parker Hughes from Middle Tennessee, Keyshawn James Newby out of New Mexico, and Red Murdoch out of Buffalo.
What a name.
Yeah, none from the Tar Heels.
None from the Tar Heels.
The 33rd NFL franchise, supposedly, as they sold themselves.
Which, I mean, Vanderbilt didn't have any either, did they? Or did Vanderbilt have one in the end?
Eli Stowers.
Eli
Eli
Stowers,
Stowers, that's the one. Yeah.
With that crazy tight end run.
Yeah. But I mean, to be fair, there were a few schools who you kind of looked at, whoa, their name at least pops up once or twice over the weekend, but they didn't. But again, that just shows, like, day 1 and 2 especially is Power 4 all day, baby. I've got a large chunk of them are the transfers. So,
And that's Eli Stowers is quite an interesting example because he played G5 as a QB, transferred to Vanderbilt, and became a tight end. So even players who are playing in a different position are being transferred to better teams and then being changed. Oh no, we're going to play you at tight end. I've never played tight end before. Oh well, let's play you at
try it
tight
out
end for
anyway.
a year and see what. But I'm a quarterback. No, not anymore. You know.
You're a quarterback at a team that's not as good as us. It's mad, isn't
Yeah.
But
I think it'll take a couple of years to figure out if it's good or bad, or what that actually does mean. I think the proof will be in what the quality of the players that actually end up on the NFL field is, regardless of where they come from. Is
because I mean,
college football
if
still
the good
delivering that
players
brief?
if they still the best players, just like cream rise to the top, and the NFL still come along and get the best players for the NFL.
It's all
Who
reactionary though.
cares? Yeah.
It's the horse has bolted and it's just reacting to the damage that the horse causes.
Yeah.
Because there's no this NIL thing has all opened up and there's no putting it back in the box.
No.
Pandora's escaped now, so
Oh, come on! You got to do the
all-
Christina Aguilera reference there,
no,
surely.
all you can do is just clean up what mess exists and react to it.
yeah. I tell you what, Gary.
Yeah.
You do it for us.
No, if Nick wasn't going to do it, then it's gone. The moment's
Come
gone.
on.
Moment's gone.
Come on, be a team member here. Be a team player.
Put the genie in the bottle, huh? Baby.
I didn't sound
I
very
was
Christina
more of a
Aguilera
Shakira
for
fan,
me.
to be honest.
Yeah, I wasn't really
weren't we all?
feeling that, but that was well. She certainly wasn't humble.
Well, at least we know now we're not getting a copyright struck because they thought it was Christina Aguilera on the.
Certainly dirty enough. Anyway, moving swiftly on.
Okay then, that is for the most
You don't know
part.
where to go with that.
For the most part, I think that's where we're gonna end. To be honest, everything now. Yeah, I don't think any of us can come back from that thought process. Really, to be honest, definitely, I think that's where we've come towards the end with the discussion on this year's draft, there is one more person I want to bring up in this draft, and I want us to have just a couple of minutes talking about it because it has been. We mentioned him at the beginning. I do want to talk about it now. Diego Pavia,
Dick.
the first Heisman finalist since 2014 to go undrafted.
Because he's a dick.
Because he's a moron. Because
Simple
and we said it months ago. In fact, didn't we say it in the episode after the Heisman that what he has done has completely and utterly tanked his draft stock?
I'm not going to have an agent because I'm a twat. I'm going to speak my mind because I'm a twat. And then I'm the biggest twat of all because I go and say, oh, Johnny Manziel's giving me advice. He's an even bigger twat than you. Jeez. Talk about twat leading the twat.
I mean, for anybody to give their advice, Johnny Football, my lord. I mean,
top of the list.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I watched that Johnny Manziel documentary on Netflix, and you know when the guy talks about suicide and he talks about playing Russian roulette with a gun, that freaks me out. And you know, you really do. It really makes you squirm and wonder. But the guy made his own bed for sort of half of it. But Diego Pavia is exactly the same. He never had the right attitude. I'm sorry, but you know, at some point, someone needed to pull you aside and said, "Stop acting like a twat, because all you're doing is costing yourself money and the chance to play. You're already up against it, being 5'3"
and coming of Vanderbilt, but he was pissing his future up the wall, and nobody sort of went to him, mate. Just just keep your mouth shut for a couple of months.
I disagree that he went undrafted because he's a twat. I think that just put nails in coffins that existed. If you look at him, look at his frame, look at the lie he said about his height. Like, I mean, listen, I'm not a green giant over it, but lying about your height by nearly half a foot. Right? It's not like he said I'm 6'1" and he's actually 6.5 inches. He's like I'm 6'2", what actually is like 5'9". So like he lied about his height by a considerable distance, let's face it. He just I mean, his body type doesn't work in the NFL, and he's shorter than Bryce Young. He's shorter than, I don't know how much shorter, but I'm pretty sure he's shorter than Kyler Murray, which I find hilarious that Kyler Murray is actually taller than me, and yet I joke all the time about how small he is. But he's so he just nothing about him works in the NFL. But I think there comes a point where even if you take him in the 5th, 6th, 7th round, whatever, you've got to say to someone like that, okay, fair enough. He won 10 games with Vanderbilt. He led Vanderbilt to the first 10 games. He's put up these stats, which, as we've spoke on multiple times, college is a different game, man. It's just different sport. You can be successful in college football, and I see nothing in the NFL because of how different it is. I think if you look at there's a way you can go, like, look, you just can't ignore stats. So look, the stats are there. They're on the paper. So I think he might have stood a chance of going round 7, maybe, or being one of the priority UDFAs if he didn't. But I don't think there was a single team who sat there and thought he's really good in college, he'll be great in the NFL, because that body type, even though it doesn't work here, is different and he'll be successful. It doesn't work in the NFL. Teams didn't want him. Someone may have taken a flyer on him. Then just being a twat just kind of took him right out any discussion and just said, well, what's
It
the
made
point?
it easy, didn't it?
Yeah.
So easy.
I mean,
when you're going sort of him,
bit...
that Pavia or any other QB, and you're, he's a bit of a twat, isn't he?
I mean, a bit of self-aware would have gone a long way. Oh, I can move. I have got legs and I've got mobility. Maybe in the professional game, I can be a running back.
Or maybe I can be a Taysom Hill.
Yeah, Maybe it may be all right. I can't be a QB. Maybe I can. Maybe I can be a special teamer. Maybe I can do this. Have some self-awareness, but just his attitude. And you look at the Vanderbilt, and when Vanderbilt were on top, when they were playing a nobody, and he had time, all the time in the world to do what he had to do. Yeah, he was great. But as soon as he played those teams where they didn't give him an inch and they were on him quickly, he
Mm.
struggled and really couldn't put anything together. And you forget that.
So one thing again, this is where I think we'll start to end it. There are some things that you can't. Do you remember when we were speaking about Ruben Bain Jr.?
Yes.
Or, I mean, there are a couple of guys, and there's this podcast on the AAW network called Unsportsmanlike Conduct, where they were crying about how people talk about short arms, and they're just being little bitches about it, to be honest with you.
Can't
But
trust that bloody podcast.
I mean, I wouldn't. They put them in more legal troubles than listeners. Listen, but
Uh,
I think from
A
like
good line, that. That's a great line. We might use
take it. It's just another legal issue I'll bring
that.
onto your table. So I think just there are ways in which yes, those things are problems and they have to be discussed. And it's when are they showing on tape? But is someone having short arms showing on tape? Right? Is someone having these measurements not be up to a certain standard? Is it showing on tape? Is it and where do one thing that I like looking at is Math Bomb and the relative athletic scores. I like seeing them come through because again, it's something that it seems every year as I watch Detroit Lions picks come through, they're always green in the RAS. Right? It's clearly something that when my team drafts, it's something that they focus on is having that relative athletic score. Clearly.
Mhm.
Diego Pavia this year had a relative athletic score of 4.52 out of 10. Now he did not get the explosiveness testing was not done, but his height was in the 0.13 out of 10. He's short. His
Yeah,
weight was 2.75 out of 10. He
he's
lied.
heavy.
Oh no, he was a bit heavier, wasn't he? He was more heavy. He was heavier than
He's
but
height
it's
beyond heavy in terms of ideal. Yeah,
his 40-yard dash was 4.83. So he's got a 5.7. That's a 5.7 score. 20-yard split was 2.73. 10-yard split was 1.65. Now, 40-yard dash isn't horrendous, but you're talking like that's your slot receiver type of your big lanky guy who's got a huge frame to run around with. He
yeah.
tends to be a 4.83, so not the quickest. When you're short, slightly heavier, and you don't have any real, you can run, but you're not fast.
Hmm. You're not helping yourself by them being a
You
twat.
have nothing that like this doesn't make up for you being short in the NFL, right? It doesn't make up for it.
Yeah.
You have no redeeming quality, and then you're a massive bellend. I'm so and look, I do hope that like they were
I'm
fake,
sure. I'm sure he's going to fit perfectly with the Ravens. Quite
probably,
frankly.
but I know that there were fake screenshots of his Instagram of him saying F the NFL and all that sort of stuff. Like that never happened. He didn't post that on his Instagram and all that. But part of me hopes if he learns and he gets his head down at the Ravens and he really just he puts the bloody work in,
You
he'll
never
be
know.
fine. The other thing would be actually, to be fair, when teams asked him about the interview, they said, "Look, for the first time in your life, you might have to go in somewhere and be a backup." And he was like, "I'm not backing up anyone. I'm going in to take someone's job." And teams were like, "No, you're not.
No,
I
no,
don't.
you're really
I
not.
don't think so.
Yeah.
You're gonna have to be okay with holding a clipboard for a little bit and helping someone do some film."
Yeah, and the
Uh,
problem with that is people are gonna if he's gonna go and go, oh, I'm gonna be there, I'm gonna compete as a starter. It's just kind of another red flag locker room problem, yet another negative against him.
yeah.
so
So
However,
in a way to bring this right round to the
yeah.
beginning, twats like that belong in the Canadian Football League.
It was gonna be he'd be a perfect DFL candidate. However,
I think
what about the other good news though, Fletch? Because I know
no,
you've
no,
talked
no.
about this one
I
player.
will. I want this last thing because I do need to get this
All
out.
right.
I think in 5 years' time, he and Cam Scatterby will have a wonderful podcast together that
Oh,
is pure
the
gibberish.
concussion protocol, it'll be called.
Yeah. And we do want to mention it. Seydou
Actually, I'm going to
Traore.
write that. I'm going to write that name
Yeah,
down because
you
that's the
trademark that.
trademark. That one.
But we need to talk about Seydou Traore for a second. Fifth round
Yeah.
by the Miami Dolphins. He comes out. On Saturday, I had little Fletch. She was here, so I was watching it on my laptop. I had the City game up on the TV, and I was kind of in and out on the laptop. I turn round and just it's the sound's off. I turn round, I see the walkway and Seydou Traore walking down with the Union
With
flag
his
on his
Union
back,
Jack.
and
Name written out, name read out by FA as
FA,
well.
yeah,
I mean, it was just like the NFL did that right. The NFL did that little bit really well.
a Commanders player reading out a Dolphins card, but it doesn't matter
It-
because FA's a legend.
yeah.
And I think poor little Fletch, it was a birthday a couple of weeks ago, so we got like a little Switch. So she's playing like picking up Minecraft on that, and the poor thing as I turned around and went, "Oh my god, it's been drafted!" Switch nearly went up in the air, and that was nearly my
Everything's
fault.
gone.
Um,
Yeah.
as it's
You
in
got
the
my
air, I'm
new
looking at
Switch.
Mrs. Fletch going, "We've got insurance,
Catch
didn't
it,
we?"
catch
I
it,
don't
catch
know if
it,
I want
catch
to
it,
catch
catch
this.
it.
We've got
Yeah.
we've got insurance. We've got insurance. We've got insurance. But no, it was what an experience that was just to see that and the pride that I felt personally watching him walk
Mm.
out on stage.
And it's weird, right? Because you see that, and 10, 15 years ago, it would have never happened. But these small little things, the IPP and these players who are crossing over, and now Sadu actually being drafted properly, not as a, and I don't want to say this horribly, but not as one of those token, I'm going to draft you because it's not going to cost me on my
Yeah,
roster anyway. But he's been drafted properly, right?
yeah.
It's not like,
Fifth round.
oh, we'll draft you as an IPP. I mean, it won't cost. It's a fifth round. Miami have gone, actually, we want him as a player he is. He's not just because of the token thing. It's those things that lead to bigger and better things. Those are the moments that inspire the kids playing Bath or the juniors playing flag right now. They see that. They can see it's possible. They can see it's real. It was an incredible moment for me to see it,
Yeah,
in my aging grayness.
you said it.
I know I'll get it in there before anyone else. But, thinking about it from the other end of the spectrum, it's just like for kids at 10, 11, 12, thinking, oh, this might be a possible, they're starting to think about where they might want to go. They're playing this game,
Yeah,
they're loving it, and they can see that it could happen. Incredible moment, an incredible moment.
yeah. Either of you two, Nick or Adam, want to add any thoughts on this?
No, I've got my unique ending opinion of the draft. I'm quite happy to voice it if no one else has got anything else.
No,
Adam?
nothing else from me.
No.
Done
Well,
for death.
lovely. Okay, so I just want to say we're really happy. And by the way, seeing Andy Burrows out there making a pick on stage, seeing the Ravens, the girl for
She
the
was
Ravens who made
good.
a pick and absolutely rinsed the Steelers
Oh,
organization in Pittsburgh. Brilliant.
brilliant. Although, to be honest, the Ravens don't have a great
The
postseason record either,
the
but it
gen
was still funny.
the gentleman making the pick in Irish
Yeah.
was fantastic. Unfortunately, it was for the Packers, but I'll still give him his credit anyway. So many British
Wasn't
people,
there a
Irish
Mancunian?
people.
Wasn't there a didn't a
Um,
pick come from
the
Manchester? No.
I was hold your horses there, Gary. I'm so onto that because it's my second favorite part of the draft. So many British people, Irish people, Europeans, people from all over the
Mhm.
world making picks. Great to see. And then FG, Manchester City football content creator, and Mancunian made a pick from, I believe it was the Northern Quarter in Manchester. Absolutely phenomenal that Manchester was part of the draft as well. FG is a legend. I absolutely love the guy anyway. So he's a huge Ravens fan, deserved the opportunity, but it was great to see
Yep.
Manchester on that stage. Um,
Mhm.
and great to see. Now, with that being said, you mentioned a lot of players who were in the NFL draft. They were no longer college players; they are now NFL players. So we will end this by saying that. Well, Nick, you tell them for us.
Yeah, they are now no longer college players, so they are dead to us. Fuck them.
Dead to us. Gone.
Dead to me now.
It's over.
What I will say, one more thing, is that it's a whole new draft year. The 2027 draft window is open. It is only 357 days away. And in those 357 days, I would like to announce that we will take you on a whole year of college football season and everything else. But while you're doing that, you can watch 437 Harry Potter marathons. You can take 119 trips to the moon. And my personal favorite, you can watch the full-length Thriller video 85,920 times. And by the time you've done all that, it will be draft day again.
Brilliant. Love it.